0. They got 2-0'd by All Business in the semifinals, but in the group stage quarterfinals in the upper bracket, they did take a map off of All Business. So Lownine, they have been able to take maps off of other teams in this playoff stage.
So I'm wondering here, we're seeing a lot more. So one of the things that we sort of failed to mention about Lownine as well is that they actually started off, from what we saw, that trend of picking Loki first. Like, Gonski has been gunning for this character in this first Protect. And Lownine were doing it before we saw any of the other teams. And, you know, we see Virtus Pro talking about it, being like, oh, we put a lot, we're not revealing anything about the fact that we're, you know, picking Loki or protecting Loki first. What's interesting here is that Virtus Pro aren't doing it themselves. In fact, they're going for the EMEA Frost. Surely they, if I know, surely they know that Lownine also Loki enthusiasts. So what are they going to do about it?
They've decided it isn't their biggest priority, but what is going to make their way in is, well, 07s for the captain. Captain America will be banned out by Virtus Pro, and they're also going to try and target Jerky a bit here, taking away that human torch. That big burst damage mirrored on the side of Lownine as they now get to go for their protection. They have the Loki, and they're going to get Mag, potentially. This, for most teams, might look like a dream draft.
It's enough to set up with. Make sure you're losing out on stuff like the torch, the cap for the Saint-Amoto, so those win rates might not look too good. Again, Virtus Pro doing their due diligence with these teams here. Well, Torch, Punisher banned out, so Virtus Pro really trying to take out some of the offensive options, especially for the likes of Crisis, who is typically the player that takes in a lot of resources, and Jarecki. Both of them, if you give them space, they will win you games.
There goes the Lunar Snow as the protection for Virtus Pro. So they're going to get that big burst protection with the fate of both worlds, making sure that they have that extra sustain. They have not had a lot of chance to play the Lunar, as it has been banned against them almost every time, as you showed earlier. And there's that final protection onto the EMEA here.
I mean, Loki's been banned out the most against Virtus Pro. That's continuing on. But Luna getting free, I mean, what, it's 12 games out of 15 that Luna's been banned out, right? So yeah, we do get to see, but the good thing about Luna as well is that both Saipe and Dredro can play them. And I think, like, that is also the good side of, like, Magneto, EMEA, Frost, is there isn't really a team that only one of the Vanguards can play them. Like, both are very strong, but also both characters are not super hard to pick up if you put the time in. Especially if you're good at other Vanguards, you could probably get pretty good at Magneto, or certainly EMEA Frost, fairly quickly with enough practice. And so both these teams are well versed. It is just that Saint-Amoto doesn't have the Captain America to sit back on.
Very true, but they have so many other options. Venom, Magneto of their own, Doctor Strange. They have a lot of options here. Virtus Pro, we actually saw a little bit of a hover onto the Namor in that little pre-game. I'm curious to see if that will make it out the door, as this is a solid map for it, due to almost all the points having incredible flanking potential. As we do see them roll out, Jerky is starting on the sideline, and Crisis is going to be mirroring Sparker. Both teams running Hulk Namor.
Ooh, so you're going for the Gamma play, the teamer. Again, we've sort of said it all day that Hulk has not been super popular. Seen a little bit of it in Americas, or even certainly further east as well, into the other regions. You have to be looking at Spark, who's almost exclusively been playing on Psylocke recently, so him moving over to the Namor is like a newer look. We know that he can play a lot of different stuff, it's just he's not been forced away from it in many of the drafts that we've seen so far.
And then we see that traded out dual fire on the Starlord that they've been picking up so often. Jerky on the Psylocke, this time for a little bit of burst potential. It is going to be Sparker taking down Jerky for the first pickup, and immediately they're chasing aggressively into the hallway. The Mind's Aegis from the EMEA to try and create a little bit of an opening here, but it is going to be Virtus Pro claiming the first point and trying to chase them all the way back to spawn, but will back up the second they start to hit that second ramp, as they don't want to get caught out of position.
Any changes for Lownine? Not realistically. Sentamoto wants to get back into Hulk form after dropping down to Bruce Banner. You do have a Fate of Both Worlds available for Pink Clone, but is that what you want to go in with? Gonski has plenty of options to go for copies here, as the God of Mischief is available fairly soon. Jarecki trying to go in for the flanks. You see just how much peeling there is for Virtus Pro. 3 people turn around to go and help him, and Crisis actually finding the pick enables this next battle. The Horn of Proteus comes through. It's not enough damage to break those break points and take anybody from Virtus Pro down. But a Meteor M in the sky looking for the Emma Frost with the Silent Seduction in hand, and it's the Dance of the Butterflies that cuts through. Virtus Pro holding on to this point nicely, and Lownine having to use every little resource that they have available to try and connect. If it wasn't for Nevix using the Hulk Smash to just burn things down time-wise a little bit longer, it would have been a very good take from Lownine, but now they have to worry about time a bit.
Vinci not wanting to give up a single second. Is going to portal reinforce here. Jerky was able to get the double pickup in the early stages of that fight. Vi up above is moving on in with the Galactic Legend. Has already picked up Jerky for the counter. Finds Gonski on the backline. And this is Virtus Pro extending the fight massively. And they did lose the point, but they're already back, already contesting. Monster Hulk has to be forced down, but Wolver is down. This is just an incredibly outnumbered fight as Virtus Pro, with the reinforcement, are able to take control.
I love this, like, I love watching teams that play with that much tempo. Like, Virtus Pro know that they're, like, the big dogs in this one of, like, we bought so much time, they took the point, let's just go instantly engage on them. Like, because Lownine are not going to expect it. They're going to be a little bit rustled, and we know that they've used some of those bigger strategist ultimates that we could just go in and take this fight, even if we don't have much ourselves. So now 85% on the board, near enough. You don't have any strategist ultimates to maintain stuff for Lownine if they're not careful. You got the Horn of Proteus for Crisis, but that's about it, Tetcher.
Fate of Both Worlds just coming off cooldown, meaning that both teams have the exact same ultimates available. But Dridro getting that Eternal Bond off cooldown is going to be the first to set up, meaning that Cypher can hold onto there for at least a little bit longer, keeping Sparker topped up. Horn of Proteus into the backline. Regeneration domain to try and hold it, but it's going to be Sentamoto focused on down. Down to the butterfly to the backline from Jerky with a counter Horn of Proteus, and they take down the Cloak and Dagger. Spark is able to escape up onto the high ground, but Sentamoto is chasing them in. Meteor M into the hallway, but it's gonna be the stealthy hidden Cypher to make sure that they don't get picked off. Galactic Legend, but this is Lownine with the numbers advantage, holding the point. Jerky goes down, but did no one touch the point? That's gonna be Virtus Pro taking the first round.
I think they all got slapped back by Nevix's Hulk, to be honest. Just enough bodies on the point for Virtus Pro to keep it stalled, and yeah, Lownine gonna be maybe frustrated, like wondering what exactly happened there. They have to quickly reset. Pink Clone switching over towards the Rocket Raccoon. I think he was very close to having the ultimate as the Lunar Snow, so I don't know how much that's going to really impact him. So far, majority of the damage done by Sparker naturally, but Finzi is just behind him, able to output so much as that Emma Frost. And when you don't have it on the other side, yeah, it can hurt. You got to think about to prioritize getting a Magneto instead. But if there's just Virtus Pro are able to hold such an aggressive line or just keep breaking their shields, Satamoto's not got the cooldowns to work with that. He's gonna take a lot. Wolver on the group though, I do like, because you do have some of those walls that can come in, and Wolver is a pretty nasty group as well.
Nevix staying on the Hulk. Wolver's been a fantastic group. They've also been a fantastic Doctor Strange throughout these matchups. One of the best Aya Nakamoto players, almost matching up to the side of Virtus Pro. But it is going to be a little bit of a mix-up. When you've got a Hulk that's diving in, they're just going to try and keep it locked down. Nice radioactive lockdown to try and pressure the backline, as Wolver will take the aggressive position, but it's eating a lot of shots from Sparker so far.
Wolver's trying to isolate a Jewel here. Need to be careful though, Thighs. Really just trying to find a flank. Any crossfire that he can maintain for Virtus Pro is going to put Lownine in a bit of an awkward spot. But the fact that they're taking the point first means that they can get more than 33% is what I think they managed on the last point. Able to actually get a pick over onto Finzi means that they can stall out things a little bit more.
forcing them back. Nevix nearly getting picked off, is forced to leap back to the rest of their team as Sparker's trying to create an opening, setting off that Monstro off to the side so that the team has to choose between hitting them or hitting that Monstro. Fi moves off the Star-Lord, sees that Groot and is like, ooh, tasty, and is going to be playing the Wolverine with the Incredible Hulk. It's double Hulk team-up time.
I've seen this before.
For the backline, lovely man cannon, locks it down immediately.
Slammed down onto the ground, isn't able to get the picks for Saitimoto. Both worlds going to have to be dedicated now, as it's really just pot shots from Sparker from distance. Horn of Proteus waiting for the right chance to see if he can get a bit of a damage boost or synergize it well with a big ultimate. I mean, that's the one he's looking for, but it's the Groot on the other side. Strangling Prison for Wolver, not able to connect onto too much, but it's Lownine buying more time. Horn of Proteus, I think, was used on all the sides, as Hela is going to come out with a Goddess of Death. Spamming from distance, clearing up some of the point, as you see from the low ground. The answer is Fincy, trying to contest it to the best of their abilities. 75% on the point now for Lownine. Things are looking pretty good. But Virtus.pro finally have enough to break on through, take the point for the first time, and now it's a good test for Lownine of whether they can take this point and take this point, like, whole part of the map.
Gonski delayed that so hard with the Loki. They bought so many extra seconds and so much extra percentage with that extra sustain from the regeneration domain. Virtus.pro, they now move into the defensive position. Namor up on this high ground, can siege in from a distance, and of course those Monstros can be either thrown down to the low ground or going for the flag. Portal, engage up to the high ground, trying to take the fight. Lockdown comes in and Sparker gets obliterated. Regen domain to make sure that they secure the high ground as Jerky moves on down. That was a huge pickup from Lownine.
Jarecki is very close to having his Dance of the Butterflies, and that wall is an appetizer for Finzi. He is still just stuck fighting on here as much as he possibly can, but now he's going back into the fight to try and avoid the Dance of the Butterflies behind him. It's not going to matter too much, and a very clean fight in the end allows Lownine to take the point back yet again. Great ult from Jarecki.
82%, 83% versus 48 for Virtus.pro. They are going to try and walk back in. No, Fitzy will swap to the Strange to make sure that they can try and contest this in time, take the safe group up as opposed to try and risk someone touching it beforehand. Portal comes out. They can touch this 96, touch, and that's easily enough time. But now they're attacking from both angles with the Eternal Bond coming out from Dridro to give them that little bit of extra sustain onto the point so that they can try and contest. But with Nevix already down, Gonski with the Cologne into the fade of both worlds is keeping the team sustained on through. Fi is rushing down, trying to get onto a Wolver, but it's the isolation with the group wolf. Last stand, and it might actually be that they get Gonski, and that's the real one. That is so huge for Fi as Virtus.pro trying to take this consistent fight in the overtime. Gonski is down. Fincy is still in this fight and is almost out that Eye of Agamotto with Wolver taken out. Virtus.pro are gonna get the flip.
Reset a quick one. Lownine knowing that they can't hang around too much. I mean, one of the reasons why they won that fight is that it was looking close for Lownine to take it because they managed to stall out Nevix for so long. Quick look at the damage before there's that final engagement about to come in. It's really a case about shutting down Sparker. Horn of Proteus is very close. Even an Eye of Agamotto from Fincy could be scary. A Wolver, it's a Strangler Prison. We haven't really seen them connect all too much. There's been a lot of good responses from Virtus.pro. Now's a potential clean sweep because there's not going to be a strategist ultimate available for Virtus.pro.
They may have to lose it though. Fincy goes into the backline. Regeneration domain, but it's cleaned out fast. Goodbye, Gonski. And they may have to swap over to that Doctor Strange here to try and turn this. There is that Strangling Prison, but the damage isn't there for the follow-up. You can see Crisis on the flank, dropped almost to 0 here. Dance of the Butterfly, barely keeping Jerky up on 8 hit points as we are going to see anyone trying to touch this point as overtime ticks down. No one spawns in time for a Strange reinforcement. Gonski tries to delay, but that is Virtus.pro taking control. Lownine almost able to scrape it, but Virtus.pro, they took those last fights beautifully.
Yeah, those dives that went onto Gonski on those last two engagements were really key for Virtus.pro there. Like, they know that there's going to be so much focus going on to getting him in the draft, and Gonski's a very good low-key, and if it's not available on their side, well, it means that even more focus has to go in to try and take him out. But just really good stuff. The fights that were taken, the engages, Lownine, honestly, a good showing. But I do think that they should have taken that second point if it wasn't for Virtus.pro having some, honestly, top-tier moments.
Penclone with 36k healing, a solid 9k more than literally anyone else in the game. Did everything in their power to keep their team up, but there's only so much they could do when it came down to individuals getting targeted, and that is Virtus Pro one of the things they excel at: targeting, being able to call a individual and take them out. And you can see that coming in here from Fi, choosing the right target, blaster barrage onto any isolated member, and Sparker here in the doorway, knowing where their opponents would retreat to, and Horde approaching directly onto themselves. If someone dove them, they could punish it. If they're not, then they get a knockdown and they're still able to capitalize. They did get punished in that last engage though, regeneration domain through the portal, but there's very little you can do about that.
Yeah, he can't really stop too much. And it really felt like, yeah, you've got this kind of like last engagements that were happening, and well, you've got Wolver that had the Strangler Prison. Virtus Pro were just consistently dealing with it very nicely. You were losing Gonski, and just, yeah, it was like this key fight, honestly. Gonski goes down, you see the Strangler Prison follow shortly afterwards, and honestly, it's pretty comfortable. You have the Dance of the Butterfly shot for Jarecki, but he's like 8 HP, like you mentioned. It's not much that Lownine could do in those situations, and Virtus Pro showing exactly why they're just such a consistently top team when they're able to adjust with what is exactly on the board at any given time.
And finally, the Loki has lost. We have broken the streak for the day. It's finally happened, and it came at the hands of Virtus Pro. But there were some times where it looked a little bit dicey. The question is, will Virtus Pro continue to just believe that they can overcome this, or will they maybe adjust their bad strategy to get rid of the God of Mischief, who has been causing quite a lot of mischief? We'll be finding out after this short break. Don't go anywhere unless it's in-game to buy those skins. But for now, we'll be right back with game number 2.
Lownine, a map down, might want to take us to New York to see some of the map options that they've had previously. They're a squad that have liked to have gone to Central Park, for example, or even Midtown. The problem is, where on earth do you take the potential best team in the world with Virtus Pro, Tetcher? Like, it really feels like it could be inevitable in any case.
I mean, there's like an argument to be made of like, yeah, of course, Midtown's good because it's one of the best hold maps, but also, if you don't know where to go, then take them to somewhere where they might be less used to. This could be Araco because it's newer, or you might have chosen something, like we mentioned earlier, Spider Islands, because it's played so rarely. Problem is, Virtus Pro have been around since Season 0. They have been playing Spider Islands since before some people were playing this game. You can't just take them to something like that just because it's played less nowadays, because they have more hours on it than some people have in the game, full stop.
I mean, if the majority of Spider Island games go like the one that we saw earlier, I'm not surprised that we see it so little in pro games. And you're right, like, Virtus Pro, on the receiving end of it previously when they lost to Peps, that first ever map loss that they conceded so far in the lifespan of Marvel Rivals, it really is just like a couple of options. Central Park, they've picked once. Yggdrasil, they've picked once. Midtown, they've picked twice. It feels like maybe Central Park to just see what Virtus Pro like to play on here, like Araco. I think that's why some teams did try to take Virtus Pro in that position, just forcing them out to be like, okay, how are you approaching the meta? Where are you taking these positions? What places are you fighting from? And just honestly, potentially stealing some of the strategies. That's what teams like to do in a lot of other games. Okay, there's a new map out. Let's see what the top teams do on it, and then we'll just copy that strategy and iterate it on depending on like our comforts. It's hard work, but people want to see exactly what Virtus Pro are cooking up.
But the fact is, Virtus Pro, they've already shown they are quite comfortable here. They've got players who can play flyers like that Human Torch. This is a map where flankers can really just have such a good time because there's all these secret tunnels and teleporters, meaning that there's always a chance that someone is behind you. Captain America, the Psylocke, they have so many times where they can just flank and get into backlines. It's a risky thing to play into a team like Virtus Pro, but we do know that there is a little bit of a chance that Lownine, we know Jerky loves that Psylocke, could try and mirror as well, with Virtus Pro so far banning the torch to prevent them from getting on it.
Yeah, I'm really curious, I suppose, on where Lownine can take us here. And ultimately, like, your best performing maps are Symbiotic Surface, which you've won, you're 2-0 on. Central Park you picked, but you lost. Midtown you picked twice, won one, lost one. And the win was against Shamungus as well, so that makes it sound like it doesn't count. I didn't mean it to sound like that. I just mean like that's the one that I do remember. But Yeah, it's Lownine really just suffering from the fact that Virtus Pro found this like run of form. But whilst we're waiting to get into game, I guess what can you tell us about like the stakes of the history of the team? Like Virtus Pro, we've known a little bit more about because they've been around for so long, and ultimately, even if you're like in Americas or Asia, you're gonna know the prevalence of Virtus Pro. What have you picked up from Lownine from your like watching? Because obviously you've done a lot of the watching the qualifiers and as well, so you've got to see Lownine get to this point in the first place, you know?
Lownine, they came together as a team quite late. They were less late than Blood Udo, for example, that came together hours before the tournament started. But Lownine, they came together a couple weeks before the qualifiers, coming together just out of a load of players who were either just incredibly good ranked players or were looking for teams. They have just picked out some of the best people who were available and believed that they could make it work together, and have successfully proved that yes, they can. They have already turned into an incredibly versatile unit, just relying on individual skill, and have been picking up great teamwork consistently, because a lot of these players have skill in other games. We've got people who have played a lot of other hero shooters or just other shooters in general, so it's an experienced team without as much experience playing together. Jerky has been a big streamer for a while, creating a lot of content around playing some unusual picks like the Jeff, for example, back in the day. Saintamoto has been an absolute ranked beast and is well known for their cap even on the leaderboard before joining this team. This team has pedigree and are coming in now against what might be their toughest challenge.
A ragtag group against the odds? That does sound very Marvel, to be fair. There is Central Park that Lownine are going to take us on, choosing to attack first. So, we did see last time more of a focus coming in from Lownine to try and get the Loki first. The Virtus Pro, banning out the EMEA, picking the EMEA seems to be their go-to strategy, and so far it's looking the same. The Captain America's a first protect instead of the Loki, however, I kind of like from Lownine.
Very interesting. Getting a little bit of an adjustment, getting Saintamoto on their main pick. Again, they're either about to continue a 100% win rate, being 3-0, or they're about to ruin a streak here as they have that left available. But Virtus Pro, they do take the opportunity to take out that Loki. It is a bit strong. Even though they won the map, the Loki was still very rough to deal with.
Still able to get a character that I think now they're matched up to all business of how many times they picked Emma Frost. So now they're the mummy's boys, I suppose, with how much that they've wanted to try to get them. Lownine wanted to try and take out Magneto, making sure that you don't actually get both of them together, which would be a little bit of a disaster. But so far, no strategists outside of the Loki being banned out for Lownine. Both torches banned out in the mirror ban as well.
This likely means we're going to be seeing Psylocke creep on in Virtus Pro. I think there's a solid chance, unless they're even going to protect a strategist here, potentially something like the Cloak and Dagger or the Psylocke, to make sure that we do have Sparker having some backline potential here. Lownine, they have the chance to do the same though, so they don't need to worry about losing yet another one of Jerky's heroes, because they get a protection before Virtus Pro get their last ban. If that's the path they want to take, Crisis currently hovering the Hawkeye, and Luna has not yet been banned by Virtus Pro. Lownine have the opportunity to try something out here with this slightly nerfed but still quite scary to look at Ice Arrow for the Hawkeye.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, the focus of banning out Torch makes sense because, well, we saw it earlier, right, with Smash This from Z10, just how amazingly annoying Torch is. And even like Tanuki, I've seen in the past, just absolutely obliterate maps when he's giving that freedom up in the sky. So Psylocke is going to be protected over on both sides. It's the last thing the Lownine are going to do to just give Jarecki a little bit of space to work with. Virtus Pro topping us off potentially for the series, potentially for the day, considering taking out Luna. Instead, going to ban out the Magneto. So that double Vanguard, main Vanguard combination not available for Lownine at all.
So now we need to decide what goes with this Punisher. They have put Wolver on the Groot. They've been leading so heavily on Strange up to now, but the Groot did quite well for them last game, so it is an opportunity. Psylocke is going to be picked up for Jerky, and they are, of course, going to have that Snowflake, that passive aura from Pinclone. Saintamoto is with them. This is the classic dive backline, but Virtus Pro are going to mirror the exact same thing, just without the Luna.
So Emma's available on one side, Loki banned out completely, Magneto banned out completely, yeah, double checking, and then Torch. So it is mostly just teams countering each other to try and take stuff off the board. But there is a Luna available on the side of Lownine, I think. So at least their strategist backline isn't going to take too much of a hit so far. It is just more pressure that goes over onto Saint Moto, who he's got cap, he's fine. And then Wolver, who grew, it's not a bad map for him. Again, we saw that earlier from Z10. The distance of what we've been seeing in Midtown, we head to not the most recent map that was added into the game, but the one that sort of closed off season 1. Oh, we're straight into the action. We're straight in as Lownine. Pretty much probably weren't expecting the same thing with Virtus Pro having such a deep hold.
Yeah, pulling back extremely far for the moment, trying to get onto that Psylocke. They can catch Sparker early as they do push out. They're going to get themselves a good pickup. That's a portal opening coming in from Lownine as Jerky started on the Doctor Strange in order to get them a little bit of an opening push, but it is going to trade out a 1-for-1. Wolver did grab Sparker. Gonski is taken down. Dridro's going to get mirrored. Both the Cloak and Daggers taken down, but Nevix is still so far mostly uncontested, keeping pressure onto the backline, and Fi is in the air, causing problems. Crisis, when did you get there, buddy? Going through the portal to try and backcap, got over half.
Yeah, 58%. I mean, you'll take him, but it's probably kicking themselves a little bit that they just gave it up for free. And now things have reset back to that main chokeway. Wolver rolling up to just create a little bit more space before they really go in for this fight. 75% away from a strangling prison. And what you're looking to combine it with is the question, I suppose. Maybe a final judgment for Crisis is the most likely, or even just a Dance of the Butterfly that's going to cut through. It's going to force a lot out of the backline of Lownine, but not the strategist ultimates up until now, as that Eternal Bond is going to become a little bit more aggressive. Virtus Pro contesting the point still. They have a foot on it just to stop it from ticking up on favor for Lownine, but the Invisible Boundary up into the rafters, up off of the objective, and it's really just a great spot for the group to be fighting, and Jarecki decides that he wants to have a slice of the action too. Fi's Galactic Legend is going to be the thing that tops off this fight, and regardless, Lownine either have to give this up and lose out on numbers, or Virtus Pro are going to lose this point in fairly quick time. They're forced back in the Freedom Charge, Tetcher. It's just keeping things going and going.
It's such a long, drawn-out fight here. Lownine, they blew a lot of their big cooldowns quite early, but holding on to Saint Moto. Essentially a third strategist ultimate with all the bonus health that it does give. They're able to push on in, and Lownine claimed the first point. That was very interesting to watch. Utilizing a little bit of a back cap to make it so that they had that first third already pre-capped, meaning that they didn't have to hold the point for as long, knowing that Virtus Pro will also be one of those teams that likes to portal back in and extend fights for a little bit longer. And here comes the rush with 3 members: Star-Lord, the Psylocke, and bringing Fi on that extra, and bringing Sparker, sorry, on that Psylocke. They are cleaning up right now.
Man, I adore that from Virtus Pro. The main thing is that they cut across and they just stopped the objective, and then they took the fight. Because this is something that Virtus Pro have been so good at on all of these convoy maps. We're back with a Squirrel. He's having a fantastic time. He's getting to watch some good action at the very least. But it's the fact that Virtus Pro are able to just keep stalling the point, and even if they end up losing that fight eventually for Lownine, they buy so much time because you have to remove them physically from the objective one at a time. They just draw out so much, and honestly, Virtus Pro forcing a fight pretty much at the spot where the payload starts is only setting the defense up for success here.
This is Virtus Pro trying to force Lownine to take a fight even further back than the objective, meaning that even if Virtus Pro go down, there's still even longer for Lownine to want to try and go for the reinforcement. This Invisible Boundary, Eternal Bond comes on out Pink Clone with that Fate of Both Worlds, but it's about to expire, and there is no secondary strategist follow-up. Jerky will get a Dance of the Butterfly onto the backline, but it's gonna be Virtus Pro who timed their ultimates a little bit better. Cyber gets a double here, the quick duel between the Psylocks, but it's a little bit of a numbers game, not respecting the 1v1. Nevix will take out Jerky.
Oh, it's a Spawn Doors hold. How has Virtus Pro managed to turn this? And honestly, it was the proactive nature of using the Freedom Charge to get into this fight before in the first place. Nevix, in fact, having another. straight into the engagement just as the same time as the Freedom Charge is used on Lownine's side, but it's not enough when you got the final judgment just layered on top and alongside a strangling prison. Lownine, that's a lot that you've dedicated here, but it's really a case of you have to throw everything you have at Virtus Pro, otherwise that payload ain't moving.
Lownine, they burn the cooldowns, but like you say, it's all about distance because Lownine are having to try and push this cart while Virtus Pro take fights behind them, which is not ideal. But finally, Lownine have an opening. They set up the culling turret. Saint Tomoto is on the flank. It's all about the ultimate cooldowns right now, though. Invisible Boundary, 85%. Jerky, 62%, and back and spawn. Gonski, 78, 80 now percent on that cloak. And Dagger getting the early Eternal Bond, but Cypher has the
same again.
Blow up here.
They've done it again, just sort of cutting behind where these attackers are coming from to try to stop the payload from there. It's a great rollout, and I'm sure that every other team in the EMEA is going to start copying it at this rate because Virtus Pro are just doing so well to stall out the point consistently. Even now again, Lownine winning out this engagement. There's just a little bit of chip damage done from Thai to just get this ultimate online. If he can disengage and then go for a clean fight towards the end of the checkpoint, that might be enough, but that's not the game plan for Virtus Pro. Just keep throwing bodies at this point. Stop it from moving. Gain every meter that you possibly can. And how Virtus Pro set themselves up nicely to stop this payload from getting any further on the second checkpoint. And there's only 40 seconds left.
Dancing Butterfly, they're going to try and commit early, but Guardian Barrier keeping them topped up. They find Cypher, they get Dridro with the help of the cap, and it's Jerky and Saint Tomoto. Praise be to the Saint, creating the opening that they want. Cap trying to delay with mobility, walls set up to keep everyone off the point, and Lownine are done with this backline delay stuff. They hit point number 2, and they get an extra minute and 3/4 on the point.
Jarecki going hunting to see the defender spawn if he can catch somebody that might have got some poor timing, because you can see the Virtus Pro were a little bit split there. It's blood in the water for Jarecki to be able to smell that opportunity out, and Saint Tomoto wants to keep this tempo going if he can. Freedom Charge going to be used. He does get Calm and Crush, but it's not going to matter too much. He was on his own, but he's able to dash out, and now Nevix is giving chase. Diving in, Prices though, taking out the other duelist on the side of Sparker, and now the final judgment, cutting on through with the fate of both worlds. There's potential for a damage boost there. There's not really any damage that you're taking on the side of Lownine currently, but you're worried about behind you because of how often Virtus Pro being able to sneak in and stop things from where you can't expect them to.
Virtus Pro split that beautifully. Terra Cape coming in for that Galactic Legend. They're trying to get onto the backline, trying to focus onto Crisis, but the team is staying very grouped up. Gonski keeping the team sustained. Here's the straggling prison, able to catch the Star-Lord, but the damage output, they can't seem to find them. It's going to be Jerky. It's going to be a team wipe is what it's going to be. Pinklow falling off. Saint Tomoto just runs off. They know that they need to regroup, and it's time for Doctor Strange.
Was that a shroud from... I think it was from Virtus Pro, like the Poke and Dagger for Dridro to be able to just get out of dodge from the Strangling Prison. So great work from Dridro to keep people alive, because you can just see how much damage Wilbur was able to do off the back of the Strangling Prison. So the backline being peeled for nicely, and Jarecki is not really going to find too much with his Dance of the Butterflies on his side. As Virtus Pro pretty much cleaned on house. 5 seconds left. The payload in control of the defenders, and it's a touch from Saint Tomoto. It's a plea more than anything to get this moving a little bit further. You gotta say, Techido, oh, never mind, I was gonna say it was done and dusted, and it is, because unfortunately he wasn't able to touch. But all things considered, Lownine made a good show of that if it wasn't for Virtus Pro having some really cool stuff on the second point.
An incredible push coming in from Lownine. Just stopped on that last portal for starters. It's one of the hardest maps to portal out of, because you have to literally teleport out of spawn to get out to begin with. But they were interrupted via the force physics coming in from Cypher, preventing them from coming through the portal to touch for that overtime. Lovely little setup by Virtus Pro there, and that is going to be still a very solid push by Lownine in the grand scheme of things, making it easily over halfway.
Now it's starting to see what Virtus Pro want to do on the attack, because I don't believe that they've shown any action on Central Park. No, they haven't. They've shown plenty over on Symbiotic Service and Dajalia. The first debut of Central Park, at least in Ignite. I think it's only Krakoa, which we saw. So it's only Spider Islands that we haven't actually seen from Virtus Pro so far this event. we're ticking them off like bingo. We'll see if there's a little bit more. And honestly, Saitomoto, even though it was a grueling fight, only going down twice, testament to why he picked it up and protected it in the first place.
It's banned almost every game for a reason. It was banned in game number 1, meaning that we are now 10 out of 12 games with it being banned. Sorry, 10 out of 13 as of this one. The question is, will we see Virtus.pro be able to push on in? If they can, we've broken the streak, but Lownine have already set up on the defense, and Crisis has brought out the Winter Soldier. Seeing that Captain America rushing on through from Nevix, it's time for crowd control.
It's Saitomoto, every time he's got Captain America, he's won. That's what Tetra found out prior to this, so it's either going to be continuing on, or it's going to be a bit of a rude awakening for Saitomoto. Now it's more of that fight happening on the objective. Wolver having to give up a lot of space, pretty much fighting all the way back to this choke, and he goes down. Just there's too much focus, too much of a force of nature when you've got the likes of Finzi running at you with the Emma Frost, able to catch you out. Now Sparker just trying to chip away at people. It's already forced Lownine back to a more defensive position, losing a chance to contest. But are they going to give this up? They have to fight for this now. And the portal actually a little bit more awkward. They're cutting around it. 2 people have jumped on point for Lownine, but things are split. You see how comfortable Virtus.pro are peeling for each other. And Lownine, you're just turning your head from side to side to work out where everybody is.
Eternal Pods delay it, and they've actually managed to force Virtus.pro out through the door. Dridro with their own Eternal Pod. Galactic Legend not yet charged up, so forced to stick with the Blaster Barrage for the moment. Guardian Barrier, Pink Clone and Crisis are both down. Dance of the Butterfly, and this is Virtus.pro with what is essentially 2 team wipes in a row, and they claim point 1 with so much time left. 5 minutes at the activation of the Squirrel.
Seeing the second point for both teams because they banned out Torch, as you've seen at the top of your screen, means it's a lot more grounded in its approach. There's no Storm, there's no Ultron, there's no Iron Man to sort of replace the threat in the sky. I do wonder if Lownine are going to try something similar. It seems that they're going for a fairly similar rollout to what Virtus.pro were doing. And the Dance of the Butterflies diving all the way back. It forces out the invisible boundary, and I don't know if somebody's disconnected. This is what happened last time, so gives us a little bit of a moment in a stay tuned for next time as Lownine have dove in with the Dance of the Butterflies.
Trying to get onto that backline, doing exactly like you said, what Virtus.pro did. Just try and punish people on the way out of spawn, because it's such a long walk from this initial spawn point to the actual objective of point number 2. So being able to just commit to these fights very early, you're able to reinforce on your own point at the top of the hill on the bridge, meaning that you can set up before your opponents get there usually, which is why teams take these fights so close to the attacking spawn.
We'll be finding out a little bit more information, but this is typically last time it happened, it was because a player DC'd, so we're just waiting for them to get back into game. It does give us a chance to look at the scenic sort of view of Central Park. Castle just been dropped down in the middle of New York in Manhattan. You got Dracula just chilling as well. Good luck of like he's on sense, seeing if he's hitting the feng shui, which I think he is.
He certainly has a taste for style. I will say the giant coffin as the centerpiece of your dining hall is a little gauche, but overall it's still a wonderful historic building stuck in the middle of a wonderful historic park. We're off.
Back into the action. This is what you missed last time, and it was just Jureki not being able to catch too much with the Dance of the Butterflies. The backline is pretty much cleaned up, and Finzi goes hunting. He wants to really get people out of those spots that could be a threat to his backline, and Nevix countering attack means that this is just going to keep on strolling forward off the back of that freedom charge for Nevix. Things are hunky-dory, and things are going to continue moving for Virtus.pro with plenty of time on the board.
This is Lownine, though. They could need to get out of this doorway. This is where you could easily set up for this defense on the high ground, but Virtus.pro played very mobile characters, so they're going to try and go for a containment. Here comes the immediate run from Saitomoto to try and create an opening while the rest of the team comes from the other side. Lovely distraction here, and Sparker nearly getting caught out from Jerky, who had the high ground positioning. Kark is on the way. Blaster Barrage for the point, but Dance on the Butterfly, and Sparker is once again fighting finding everyone grouped together, and without a defensive ultimate available, it's going to be Lownine cleaned out, and point number 2 grabbed by Virtus Pro. It is a game of distance now. 64 meters, 95 centimeters, and Virtus Pro are already moving out for a containment.
Ooh, but 5 minutes on the clock. Lownine, you got to put an end to this, or you got to slow things down for the time being. You got some good stuff to make it happen, though. I'm looking at the Strangling Prison, but it feels like if you don't have Crisis ready for the Kraken's impact, you're not going to have the follow-through necessary. Nevix is also going wandering a bit here, and Wolver, he has his ultimate, but he can't afford to go down here. We do see both Eternal Bonds being used from the Cloak and Daggers, and the pull-up forces out some early utility from Treetro. The Terror Cape is a good one. Finzi having the follow-through, and then you've got Fee as well. Just with the back of the Galactic Legend, all of this space has to be cleared. Even if it doesn't get the picks onto Lownine, they have to back up all the way up the stairs.
They're buying as much time as they can, but they were, like you said, forced up the stairs, meaning that squirrel crept on forwards at 57, 58, and Lownine, they need to keep reinforcing, which means they have to take this fight on Virtus Pro's terms. Nevix gets the freedom charge, meaning they're going to get all that bonus out. Strangling Prison, but all it does is seal the fate, as Virtus Pro were able to plant the seeds of victory in those early fights and move on in, cutting group down to size and take the series in a 2-0.
Yeah, results sort of go in as most would have in the pick'ems, and Lownine just couldn't really get much going over on Central Park. Just a couple of moments here or there. It was a good first take. The second point got slowed down a lot, and then the third one you were only guaranteed a couple of fights before you run out of time. I'm showing at Virtus Pro, we're seeing pretty much all of the map pool in favor now. And when you see stuff like this that hasn't been shown, the Central Park not being visible at all from Virtus Pro over in Ignite thus far, makes you a little bit worried about what else we haven't seen from this Virtus Pro team, because that looked like a day in the office for them.
Alt tracking is something they've been doing for over a year at this point. They've just been able to focus onto everyone who steps out of line, get into the backline. Sparker knows exactly when Pinkload and Gonski had their protective abilities up, which is why you see so many scenes just like that one. Dance of the Butterfly, while Jerky was able to get some turnaround, some counters, it is the positioning of Virtus Pro staying together to keep themselves protected, but Lownine, they were just getting split so effectively because they were constantly being pressured by Fincy with those psionic seductions, with people being split, and of course the Captain Americas on the backline for both sides making space, but Virtus Pro took the control a little bit better, utilizing the Star-Lord.
Lownine down to the losers bracket, up against Insomnia, like you said earlier, which is a grueling game, potentially, at least now for all of the teams. I believe it all goes into best of 5, so you have more freedom to pull back a series if you're 2 maps down, more of a chance to play for survival, and more of an attempt, I suppose, if you want to keep climbing up and pushing for playoffs at this rate. We've seen this screen plenty of times for Virtus Pro. It's only been once that we haven't and seen Rad instead. But literally since then, it's just been an absolute blip for them, and really looking like the strongest team in this tournament yet again, it feels, Tetcher. Virtus Pro back on top.
But Virtus Pro, they now head into a fated matchup, one that we have seen more times than I have fingers on one hand, and that is Patapim, waiting for them in that upper bracket semi-finals. And if they win that, they have either Zero Tenacity or Rad, also teams who they have played against and know are strong. This is a stacked Final Four. You could look at this realistically and say any of them could take this, and then with the lower bracket creeping up behind them, it's going to be so hype over the next couple days to see who is going to represent at the mid-season finals. But a lot of people are going to be looking at this team and this guy right here, Nevix, putting on another fantastic performance. For starters, congratulations on yet another win. You did have in that first game a ban on the Captain America, but led it through in the second round. Is that just because the Loki was a little bit too threatening, or were you already prepared for Saint Tomoto?
I think we were prepared for anything, but Santamoto is a very good captain, so we target banned him in the first game.
I wanted to ask a little bit about your love for Emma Frost as a team, because it feels like there's so many other regions like Americas, Asia, put a little bit more focus on the Magneto. Is it a little bit of preference? Is it a little bit of like the synergy with the Psylocke? What is it about Emma Frost that makes her such a good pickup for you guys, would you say?
Honestly, I think people are sleeping a bit on Emma. Like, I don't think Mag is better at all. I think Emma just has too many good matchups in the front line. So, like I said, this the first time I tried Emma, I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't really belong in the game. That's how I felt. Like, she's so strong. Like, in a tank matchup with the pylon, like, she can kill a tank by himself. She has a really small hitbox, and the diamond form, it makes it even harder to kill her. So I think she's just the strongest tank to have.
Speaking of another matchup, we heard someone earlier today say that they believed that Star-Lord was a bit of a trap hero, yet it's someone who you guys lead on quite a bit. So we're in a rare situation where we can hear kind of a direct response from a team that likes to bring out the Peter Quill. So what is your opinion on Star-Lord in the current meta?
I think Star-Lord has, like, he's a very flexible DPS because he has a lot of mobility, good single target, good AoE, like he has strong timing and also like constant pressure. So I think he's used like a very flexible DPS that you can play in most scenarios.
I wanted to sort of talk a little bit about the maps as well, because out Central Park was like the second last map that we saw. Like, we never saw your Krakoa up until today. We saw Central Park just then. The only map that we've not seen is Spider Islands. How much does it take to sort of prepare on all of these maps? Because you know that teams want to see what you're doing so they can effectively copy you in some things. You had some really nice plays on that second point on the defense where you're just sort of running behind where the payload is, like with Freedom Charge and stuff. Like, it was probably the first time in a while I've seen Central Park without any flyers on it as well. So it must be pretty exhausting to just be prepared on any map, because people want to take you to stuff that they've not seen yet, right?
Yeah, there's so many maps and also matchups to take in account, because like there's people trying to cheese on some maps. People play very standard. Like, it's always like random. So like every scrim event, like every map is usually different depending on the bans and everything and what people prefer. Because now there's also a lot of viable styles, in my opinion. So yeah, there's a lot to think about.
So moving on to these upper bracket semi-finals, you are up against the team that has probably the most, for at least the longest and most consistently tried to be taking your title. You are up against Burr Patapim. You have a lot of experience in this matchup. How confident are you feeling?
I'm pretty confident. I mean, they never beat us yet, so let's not make that happen yet.
I actually wanted to ask a little bit about something that you said just then about like how tough it is with all of the different matchups and stuff. Like, I know you from a previous hero shooter that didn't have stuff like picks and bans in it from way back when, like where you essentially could play the same map and it's the same comps every single time on, you know, the maps that I'm talking about. How has it been for you personally to deal with that? I guess like having like Emma Frost for you and Finzi, who's probably in the same boat, to sort of lean back on as needed is probably good, but like, how much of that has been an adjustment for you, especially with the new pick ban phase? Like, how exhausting is it as a Vanguard when you can be taken out of the pool quite a lot?
Yeah, so I think in this game, flexibility is very important. And I like that because I'm a pretty flexible player in general. So I like being able to play a lot of different tanks and a lot of different maps, different situations, and all do the counter pick and ban. Kind of like in-game, like someone goes wolf, I'll pull out the thing. If someone goes like hella flanking, I go captain. Like, I like that dynamic style. And if you only main like one character, you get very easily target banned. So personally, I like the system.
All right, well, we're going to get to see you play a lot more of it as you continue your journey through the upper bracket. Nevix, thank you very much for joining us today. Any final words for the fans?
Thank you guys. Well, I want to shout out to VP and all the fans. Thank you guys for supporting us, and let's go.
Thank you very much to Nevix. We are going to be heading towards the end of our show today, preparing for Americas coming up later.